Hello, everybody, and welcome to one of the first Reviewers Legacy Let's Plays. I'm your host, Chris, and this is Super Mario World. Now, Super Mario World is super old. It is from before I was born, and interestingly enough, it's the first game I ever played. So, I wanted to go back and talk about it a little bit, as well as just run through the game so I could better explain some of what I'm talking about. So, when you go from the original Mario, on the NES, it's an incredible experience. It is absolutely worth a playthrough. But as the years went on, they made Mario more complicated, more complex. And you go from the standard, the traditional, oh, you have 1-1 through 1-4, and that's it. You can't go back, you can't go anywhere but forward. You can skip around a little bit, but it's always towards the end of the game. With Super Mario 3, you start seeing, a world structure, but at the end of the day, you're still making your way to the end of the game. This is the first, at least as far as my knowledge, see, get killed on the second enemy. Wonderful. But this is the first game where you really start to see a lot more going on behind the scenes. You're still working towards the end of the end of the game, an end goal, but this, to my knowledge, is the first Mario game where you're going back to worlds that you've previously completed to unlock new areas and do new things, and that is something that really drew me in. Beyond what I think is obvious now, but one of the best art styles. The art direction in this game is, in my opinion, one of the biggest keys to the success of this game. It's not a hard game. It's not necessarily the most expansive game. If as much as I'd like to say this is a huge game, you know, I could beat this within a single playthrough if I was really in need of doing so. Whereas, say Link to the Past, I'd be going at it for quite a while. So it's not expansive, it's not necessarily all that hard. So what do we have? We have an accessible, beautiful, really cute game that expands on Mario as a concept and just gives us just an absolutely wonderful overall cohesive experience. There we go. You really see a ton of evolution with this series, and we'll get to them as they go. But in that level, for instance, you're seeing more than just Goombas and Koopas. You're seeing interesting new things that you have to deal with. You also see spin jumping, a far easier sprinting mechanic, grabbing and throwing things. You're seeing, right now we've got, a different stage entirely, one that is built not on getting to the goal because it's a challenge, but more of a reward for, unlocking it. And this stage actually shows the implication for the future that you're going to have worlds that directly affect other worlds. So it says Switch Palace. The power of the switch you have pushed will turn blank blocks or blank yellow blocks into exclamation blocks. And then you see it spread out into the world. And, that is something that really is, I don't want to say unique to this game in Mario, but it definitely was a focal point with this. You start seeing, you know, beyond just the evolution of platforming, you see a world that is interconnected, and that is very neat. You're also seeing, hooray, thank you for rescuing me. My name is Yoshi. The story, instead of necessarily being just about the princess, you go to Yoshi's Island, and it's like, yeah, all the little Yoshis have been taken. They've been kidnapped and locked away, on top of the princess being locked away. It really is. It's the standard Mario. It's not, some crazy new story. Mario is going through a messy divorce with Bowser or something. Like it's still Mario, but you're getting a little bit more of a raised stakes, and it introduces a staple of the franchise in such a neat way, because Yoshi is, it's such an iconic part of Mario that, to be honest, I don't think of Mario without thinking of, one, Luigi, but Yoshi. We're also seeing, kind of firsthand, that one death aside, this is not a particularly difficult game by any means. I've already got 12 lives, by technically World 2, and that just went up to 13. But it doesn't have to be difficult to really capture my attention, and to be fair, I say it's easy. When Emma and I have played this in the past, it's still not, the easiest game in the world. I would say it's on the easier side of Mario games. I'll put it like that. You get these assholes, the wonderful, gosh, I can't even remember what they're called. They're just the worst, I remember as a kid, I always hated them because they wouldn't die in one or two jumps, and they could hit like a truck. But, I just always called them the football players. And man, they were infuriating as a kid. But looking back, it was neat to have an enemy that honestly you kind of just wanted to avoid in a Mario game. And you could still take them out. It wasn't exactly, the hardest thing to take them out if need be, but I use them as platforms, I use them to jump to other areas and bounce off of them, but I tend to just kind of leave them be if I can. It adds a little bit of depth, in my opinion, to platforming near the end of stages when they start showing up. And one of the big things that I didn't mention and I was planning on mentioning in World 2 was really the variety of worlds just feels off the chart in this game. Don't get me wrong, Super Mario World, or well, not Super Mario World, but Super Mario Brothers 3, has the gamut of desert worlds and, forest, underwater, stuff like that. And that's all well and good. and it is variety. But within this first world, we really take root in the idea that we're going to have these rolling plains. We're going to have the inside of a forest. We're going to have these like highland regions. We see this first water world, which is it's not difficult to see, oh, we're gonna have water sections in a Mario game, surprise, surprise. But it's it's a good intro into the world that we're in. It provides a soft entry. You're not suddenly taken by surprise by these piranha plant or not piranha plants, the spiny ball cat things. Spiny ball cat things. You get the chance to see them, and generally at this point you've still got Yoshi, so you can see that, oh, Yoshi can deal with them, but Mario kind of stinks against them. They're just slightly too tall. Um, let's see. Let's see if I can do this. The first. Perfect. All right. You get your first wonderful star right there, and it gives you the perfect chance. If you're not used to the series, it gives you the perfect chance to understand how nice it is to have that. And usually at this point, you start realizing, oh, I'm getting these stars if I grab the ticker tape. And that leads you to this neat little bonus room, which I am terrible at, I'll be honest. But the whole idea is for every bingo that you get a 1-up. So you could really rack up the 1-ups here if you can kind of parcel out the strategy. And then we are finally moving on to the very first castle, which I've got to admit, I always loved the castles in this game. They were super neat. They always felt really, different from the rest of the world. It's like, so in most of the worlds that you see, in most of the levels, it feels as though these creatures, these minions of Bowser, have taken over the land, but they are just there. They half the time they'll destroy themselves on the terrain as though they didn't belong there. But these feel purely made for the Koopas, and it gives it a slightly more terrifying feel. I don't feel in control here. And the same can be said in the future for the ghost houses. Is I don't necessarily feel in control when I'm in them, and that's just a really neat dichotomy. And that's in the older games as well. But there we go. That boss right there was the worst boss for me as a kid. I just could not understand what to do. It probably kept me from beating this for ages, probably weeks. I spent trying to understand how that worked. My dad would play with me and he would beat him, but I would have never been able to defeat him because my poor little idiot brain didn't understand it. But what we'll do is, for this series, I'm going to try and keep it a little bit short per episode, and we'll try and take out, each castle for each episode. So for now, we will see you next time.